Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, MBA and Master's Application Tips. My name is Nelly and I'll be the moderator on behalf of the Prep Advisor team. And I'm here with our speaker today, Dr. Don Martin, who is the founder of Grad School Roadmap, and for years have been working with prospective graduate students all over the world. Before giving the word to Don, I want to tell everyone who is listening, you can ask questions anytime during the webinar, just using the Q&A box. And as usual, all questions are welcome, so don't hesitate. I think everything is set now. Don, I'm giving the word to you.
Nelly, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be joining us at whatever place you are. Thank you for taking this time to be here today. It's always a pleasure for me to have this opportunity to speak with individuals from Prep Advisor and the Advent Group, Access MBA, Unimi Prep, wherever you are joining from or however you heard about this. I'm thrilled that you're here. Thank you so much. You're looking at a little bit of information about me here on the screen. I'm not going to read all of it, but if you are an MBA prospective student, you might be interested in knowing that I did serve as Dean of Admissions for the full-time MBA program at Chicago Booth School of Business for 11 years out of the 28 years that I served in the admissions and enrollment space. During that entire time, I evaluated over 125,000 applications, 80,000 of which were during my time at Chicago Booth. And so it's from that background that I come today to share some what I consider to be very important tips and do's and don'ts for the application process. What I'm going to do is go through all of these tips for you. We're going to go right through in the next maybe 25 to 30 minutes. And then I'm going to stop and open it up for questions, which, as Nelly knows, is my favorite part of the webinar. I love answering questions. There are no bad questions. There's absolutely, if you want to ask, you should. So please follow Nelly's advice and put questions in the appropriate space here on the platform so that we can answer them at the end of the presentation. So that said, let me share what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to do all of this in about 30 to 35 minutes. I am not someone who talks on and on and on. I will present the information and then hopefully you'll have some questions, and feel free to type them in at any time as we go through this agenda. First of all, I'm going to share a brief 30-second to 60-second description of Grad School Roadmap, which I founded in 2008 when I released the first edition of my book. Then I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about something I discuss in just about every single webinar I ever give or any presentation, and that is the biggest mistake that you can make as a prospective MBA or graduate student. Then I'm going to talk about some key application tips, 7 of them, and then 9 do's and don'ts in the application process. Some of you may be considering applying for MBA studies starting in the fall of 2024. If so, you have some first round deadlines coming up within the next 3 months. And so this information could be very, very timely and hopefully relevant and helpful for you. I'm going to spend 30 seconds telling you about my book, then about the application coaching work I do. Finally, we'll talk about an upcoming webinar I will be doing, and then we'll move to Q&A. Okay, so as we say in the States, fasten your safety belt. Here we go. So what is Grad School Roadmap? Well, I founded the company in 2008 because of a desire to serve as a resource primarily for prospective students and applicants to any program, but certainly business school, master's programs, and so forth. We do work with alumni and enrollment management staff from time to time, but the large focus of the work is with prospective students and applicants to help them navigate this process and provide information that sometimes is not found. I haven't seen it anywhere else. We are former graduate admissions deans, all of us. So we've actually sat on the other side of the desk, so to speak, making admission decisions. We've had the privilege, as you'll see toward the end of this slide, of working individually with just over 850 graduate, and of that group of 850, I would say about 500 are MBA applicants with a very successful admissions rate, 97%. So we're in our 16th year. I can't believe it's gone by that fast. I've enjoyed just about every minute of it, truly. Now, what is the biggest mistake most prospective MBA grad students make every year? This happens constantly, and it doesn't matter where you live. You might live in Europe, you might live in Asia, Latin America, Africa, Australia, North America, wherever. This is a consistent mistake that many prospective graduate students make, and it's sad because it can make a huge difference in your experience as a graduate or MBA student, the level with which you really get involved in that program and enjoy it. What is the biggest mistake? The biggest mistake is this: not doing adequate research before you apply, not after, of course, but beforehand. Most prospective students I've met have a list of maybe only 3 to 5 major programs they're thinking about without doing a whole lot of genuine research. What do I mean by this? Well, it's a mistake, obviously, in my opinion, to do this. It's why I cover this in every webinar. And here are 3 ways to help you avoid making this mistake. First of all, in my opinion, there are over 800 accredited MBA programs around the world. 800. You mean to tell me there are only 5 or 6 that are worth your time? Of course, that would make no sense. So when you start out, you should be applying or considering 10, 15, 20 programs, and really take a close look at all of those before you decide where you're going to apply. To help you do that, it's very beneficial to create a spreadsheet so that you can, I suggest you list the options in alphabetical order. Do not do any sort of rank ordering yet. That comes after you've done your homework, after you've done your research. And what is it that you would perhaps want to compare between these options? Are you ready? Take a look. Look at all of these areas that I believe, and this is not a comprehensive list. This is only part of a list. But these are things you would want, I believe, to really know about for all of the options you're considering. I would like to especially draw your attention to the second column in from the left. The second column, further down toward the end of that column, there are 2 points: interaction with current students and alumni, and interaction with the admissions staff. Maybe that's through an admissions event that you attend or that you view virtually. It may be through special contact you have with the admissions office. But these contacts make a huge difference in how you end up experiencing the options that you're thinking about. And by the way, this is what's most important to whom? To you alone, not to your parents, not to your advisor, not to your friends, not to a significant other. They're not going to be doing this program. Who is? You are. So what is most important to you? Now, I strongly recommend you evaluate the interaction you have with the admissions office. That gives you a sneak preview of how you will be treated once you get there. Secondly, it is critical that you reach out to at least 1 or 2 current students or recent graduates from this program. And you could ask many questions, but one question for sure I would think you would want to ask is the following: what did you like and what did you dislike about this program? They should be able to provide a response for both of those questions. No program is perfect. I would think you would want to know that. A second question to ask current students or very recent graduates is this: knowing what you now know about this program, if you had it to do over again, would you still decide to attend? So please do some homework here. Check these things out. In the third column, toward the end, is some rankings. I'm not suggesting that you don't look at those at all, but as you can see, they are one of many, many considerations here. And I would like to tell you that there is no statistical, reliable evidence in the 43 years I've been doing this work. There is absolutely no statistical, reliable evidence that the rank of the business school or graduate program you attend spells your ultimate success in your career. There is, I'm sorry if I'm busting someone's balloon, so to speak, but there is none. This is a very big myth that is inflicted upon prospective students around the world. The higher the ranking, the better your career will be. There's no proof of that at all. So what does that mean? That means that when you are deciding where to apply, this is what program is resonating with you, irrespective of their ranking. If there are 856 accredited MBA programs in the world, there would be at least 25 or 30 that might be of interest to you and where you might find some compatibility, shall we say. So please do this, create a spreadsheet, put your options in alphabetical order, and then what do you want to compare? Look at all of these things, and there are more. All right, so do some comparison shopping. Once you've looked at all of those areas, let me go back one more time. Once you've looked at all of these, or whichever ones are most important, maybe I should put it that way. Once you've compared all of this, then you make your decision about where you're going to apply. And in closing on this point, remember, perception about the programs to which you're going to apply is where you end up after you've done your research. It's not where you start out. I was so dismayed at many MBA events that I went to represent Chicago booth. Students would come up to me with some sort of ranking in their hand, and they had a line under the top number 5 program on that ranking. There might have been 50 in it, but they had a line under 5. And you know what that meant? Those were the only 5 schools they were going to look at this MBA fair, when there might have been 80 in the room. How sad. What a terrible mistake. If you go to an MBA event where there are several programs represented, get literature from all of them, at least. Not that you may end up applying to many of them. You may not do a whole lot of research, but it would never hurt to get some written material. So please, if you do not take away anything else from what I share with you today, I hope, please, that you will take the time to do your homework, do your research. That ensures you're going to find a program that will be the best it could be for you. And isn't that what you want in the end? For your time, your money, all the investment you will make. My master's program changed my life. So did my doctoral program. But I chose them because of what I was looking for, not because of a ranking, not because somebody else told me, oh, you should go there. No, it was my decision, and it changed my life. And I hope it will do the same for you. All right, let's move to our second major topic today, 7 key application tips. Now, give me one moment here. I'm going to have a sip of water, and I promise that's what this is. Okay. Now, before I give you these tips, I want to just mention this. Some of these may seem very simplistic to you. You might say, well, of course. Well, the reason I start with these is because so many applicants do not follow them. They don't do these things, and it truly can make a difference and help you. So before I get to the do's and the don'ts, let me start with 7 key application tips. Number 1, by far, the number 1 point, be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try to, they're, again, I believe admissions offices do a disservice to prospective students by giving them an impression that somehow they have to be Superman or Superwoman, and they have to be perfect, and they have to do this. That is the farthest thing from the truth. Why? We all, if we have any sort of intelligence and intuition, we know when someone is not being themselves. We know when somebody is, if you're at a social setting or at a work event or something, you meet someone, you get a sense of whether they're just being themselves or whether they're being fake. And if you think they're being fake, what is your reaction to that person? You shy away from them. You don't trust them in a way. Well, that's the case here. Admissions officers are not psychologists, but we certainly get a sense of whether someone is on the level, is being authentic, and that you let them see who you are. The philosopher Oscar Wilde said it best. I love this quote. He said, "Be yourself, everyone else is already taken." So you are a unique person. Let them see that through the application process. Secondly, consider rankings, but only as one of many criteria. We kind of covered that in that prior slide. There are so many more, in my opinion, far more important criteria you should be looking at than a ranking. They change over time, and at the end of the day, as I said, they mean very, very, very little. So please do not waste your time obsessing about a ranking. It is useless. It is absolutely a waste of time. Number 3, take word of mouth for what it is. Word of mouth. If someone says to you, the XYZ business school changed, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Well, that's great, but that doesn't mean it necessarily would be the greatest experience in your life. So if you have a spreadsheet and you want to have a column that says, what do other people say about this program? Okay, that's fine. But remember, that's all it is someone else's opinion. And you need to keep that in check as they talk about their experience as an MBA student or a graduate student. Number 4, again, I can't stress it enough. Please do your homework. Please do it. Do your research. Most of those who do this end up completely with a different list of schools to apply to than what they thought they had in the beginning. I've watched this happen countless times with my coaching clients. Point number 5. This is very important. Remember, the evaluation process is a 2-way street. Yes, you are being evaluated as an applicant, but you should be equally evaluating them. How do they treat you? Are they welcoming? Are they personal? If you send a message to them, do they respond? If I send a message from Don Martin, do they say, "Dear Don, thank you for getting back with us"? Or is it, "Hello, thank you for contacting our school. You will find all this information on the web"? Very impersonal response. That's it. That would get a letter grade of F from me. How are you treated? This is critical. How you're treated as a prospective student and an applicant. If it's bad, then don't think it's going to get better when you actually are there. Is that what you want? So make sure that while you know that they're evaluating you, you should be evaluating them equally. And don't forget, their evaluation of you doesn't just start after you've submitted your application. Whatever contact they've had with you before you've even applied is also part of the message, the impression you're giving them about who you are. So remember, evaluation is it's from the applicant to the institution and from the institution to the applicant. 2-way street. Tip number 6, Please remember to be calm and professional at all times. What does that mean? Any information you put out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, whatever you're putting out there, out to the public, LinkedIn, you better be sure it is absolutely professional in every capacity. Your phone answering machine. If somebody calls you from an institution and your answering machine goes, "Hey dude, how's it hanging? Leave a message after the beep." Beep. Some people actually say beep on their phone messages. That is so unprofessional. That leaves a very bad impression of you. When you speak with individuals at an MBA fair, even at an interview, whatever, smile. Now, I don't mean you do this the whole time. How are you doing? It's so nice to see you today. Of course, that's fake. But from time to time, you want to smile. You want to be upbeat. You want to put forth a professional and yet a calm demeanor in any of your interactions. If that is consistent, believe it or not, that's going to help you stand out. In fact, at Chicago booth, we had something called an orange sheet. And we trained our staff to use this on 2 occasions for either an extremely above and beyond positive interaction with a client or an applicant, or a horrible interaction, one or the other. Now, we trained our staff so they weren't putting thousands of orange sheets in, every time they had an interaction, they put an orange sheet in the file. No, but this was if something really stood out for positive or for negative. And I'll tell you, when the application came to me to evaluate it, if there was one or if there were 2 negative orange sheets in that folder right at the top before I saw anything else, that candidate was waitlisted at best. It did not matter what else was in the application. Again, you need to make sure you remember every interaction leaves an impression. I hope you write that down. Every interaction leaves an impression, for better or worse. Last application tip before we get to do's and don'ts. Please remember, your ultimate success in life is not based on your resume. That helps people to get to know about you and your accomplishments, obviously. But the success that you will ultimately achieve is about who you are inside. Inside. 2 words I'd like you to write down for this point. 2 words: persistence and determination. One of our former presidents here in the United States, a gentleman by the name of Calvin Coolidge, actually said this. He said there are 2 things that really, 2 character qualities, 2 traits that really make someone successful in life. Persistence, and not talent is important, wealth is helpful, education, smarts being, but there are a lot of smart, educated, wealthy, talented people in the world who have been dismal failures. What is it that's going to take you where you're ultimately going to go? Persistence and determination. Calvin Coolidge called them omnipotent. So remember, your ultimate success isn't in a piece of paper, a diploma. It isn't in, oh, I went to the number 2 ranked business school. No, that doesn't, at the end of the day, that means very little. It's about what you have. Okay, now let's move to our next topic, which are some application do's and don'ts. These are things you want to do and things, conversely, that you don't want to do. By the way, on the Grad School Roadmap website are a whole series of blogs about the MBA application process. Free information. We're posting a new one today. It could be being posted, my webmaster, as we speak. And we'll be posting a whole series of them in the coming weeks for MBA, primarily focused on MBA. We talk about law school, medical school, master's, doctoral. Right now, we're focusing on MBA. So please take a look at those. But for now, let's talk about 9 do's and don'ts for you as an applicant. Now, number 1, I could spend an entire webinar with stories about this. Please read your instructions and follow them. But don't rush. Don't rush through it. Some applicants make terrible mistakes not because they're incompetent, not because they aren't intelligent, not because they would not do well at that particular MBA program, but because simply they waited and rushed through things, didn't read as carefully as they should have, and made some avoidable mistakes. And if that happens, especially the more competitive the program, applicants with mistakes in their applications end up getting denied, because there could be at Booth, we got what, 4,000 to 5,000 applications every year for an incoming class of 500. This is when I was there, maybe higher now. But that was an awful lot of applicants. Most of them were qualified. But if there were mistakes throughout the application or someone did not follow instructions, read them and do what they ask you to do. If you have a question about an instruction, go ahead and send an email and ask about it, but don't make false assumptions. Second point, another very, very good tip here, and do's it, apply when you're ready. Don't sacrifice quality for speed. What do I mean? Well, for most MBA programs, there could be 3 or 4 application deadlines. Now, I never suggest anyone wait till the last deadline unless there's a very good extenuating circumstance that prevented you from applying sooner. But nor do I subscribe to the myth, because it is a myth, it is not true, that if you don't apply in the first round, you have very little chance of getting in. That is absolutely not true. That is a myth. There is an advantage of applying early, and that is you hear a little sooner. But there are many, many applicants who get admitted in the second round. And I often say an outstanding second round application is far better than a mediocre rushed first application. So if you aren't quite ready when that first deadline comes around, maybe you had an extra busy summer, maybe you had a couple of new projects that were assigned to you at work, or you've had something at home, that's okay. Do not, make sure to the best of your ability that you're ready to submit the best application you can. That's when it's time to submit. Do not get hung up on having to submit it in the first round. Third, as I said previously, evaluate the customer service of the institution. This is so important. How you are treated before you get there, it's not going to change once you walk in the door. If you are continuously experiencing bad vibrations, I've had clients, coaching clients say, Dr. Don, I'm so disappointed with this program. They didn't get back to me, or when they did, they talked down to me. They made me feel like I was not worth their time, or they were so wonderful and I should be overjoyed to be given the honor of joining them. Is that the kind of environment you want to be in? It wouldn't have been for me. My programs, my master's program, and my doctoral, but at the master's level, I was welcomed as a part of the community. I became a friend of one of my professors. I took 4 classes with him. He became a lifelong friend. That's what you're looking for. So please evaluate, how do they treat you? This is critical. And don't sugarcoat it. Don't try to make it less bad than it is just because that institution is more highly ranked. Don't sugarcoat this. Be honest with yourself about how you're being treated, and don't forget, they're evaluating you too. Point number 4. Be assertive. Yes, you can be assertive. You can be confident, but do not cross the line to arrogance or argumentation. That some applicants, I think, are trying to demonstrate that they are confident of themselves. That's okay. But again, going back to my comment, when you meet somebody and you can usually tell when they're being fake, the same thing is true with arrogant people. You can usually pick them out. You can see how they're behaving. And does that endear them to you? Do you want to get to know them better because of their arrogance, or if they're arguing all the time? You want to make sure, again, that you are assertive, that you show that you have confidence, but not this arrogant tone, or not argue. If they give you an instruction in the application, or you've applied and you find out they don't have everything in your application, they're missing something, and you know you sent it all, that is not the time to argue with them. I had applicants call in to me at Chicago booth. What's wrong with you? What's the matter with your staff? I sent everything. Go find it. Don't tell me to send it in. You know what? They were denied. I didn't have time for that. That was extremely rude, extremely inappropriate, unnecessary. So again, how you convey yourself is going to be very important. Make sure to be assertive, but not argumentative or arrogant. Number 5, along the same line, be confident, but not conceited. This is, again, pretty much a repeat. I probably could combine those two under one point, because technically that's what we're talking about. Number 6, be persistent, folks. Be persistent. Make sure you follow through on what you are supposed to do. If you said you're going to send something to them, send it. But don't be a pest. We had applicants who would contact the admissions office just about every week. Oh, I just wanted to check in and let you know that I'm really interested in the program, and I'm really excited. I'm getting my application ready. And then the next week, yes, I'm so excited. I'm still working on my application. I'll be turning it in for the deadline. That's way too much. That makes you look desperate. That you want to contact them. You want to be persistent about your plans to apply, but you do not keep contacting the admissions office every week. You contact them only if they contact you, or if you have a particular question, something you would like to discuss. But beyond that, you hurt yourself again. I used to have an orange sheet in file sometimes that said this applicant called every week since August, and it was now December. They called every week. That did not help that applicant. It hurt them. All right, number 7, 3 more of these. The next, put your best foot forward. But do not yield to the temptation to embellish or lie, outright lie. Many applicants, and this is very understandable. This doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Many applicants think to themselves, oh my gosh, I'm applying to a program where there could be 5,000 other people, and I just don't think I look very good. So I'm going to just tweak a few things. I'm going to, if it says on my transcript that my GPA was a 3.25, I'll just say that it was a 3.52 and hope that they won't notice. I'll just embellish my extracurricular activities and list a bunch of things that I didn't do, but I'm going to put it on there that I did. I'm going to ask someone, or I'm going to write my own recommendation letters and let that person use what I write. Nowadays, folks, admissions offices are pretty savvy. They check references. They check resume information. They check academic information. And if at any point it becomes apparent that you embellished or that you misrepresented yourself, you're out. And many business schools, especially the top, I would say 10 or 15 in the United States, share that information amongst themselves. If they discover that an applicant cheated in some way, they will communicate with other admissions offices and say, beware of so-and-so. We found that they cheated. So it's not worth it. It is not. Might you be tempted? Of course, we're all human. But there is no reason, no need for you to yield to that temptation. Do your best to put your best foot forward. That's why I do what I do. I help to coach applicants to put their best foot forward, to present themselves in the best way that they can. That's what you want to focus on. Second to last, do and don't. We don't have to spend too much time on this. Be yourself, as opposed to being someone else. Everyone else is already taken. Be yourself. Lastly, enjoy this process. You're going to learn a lot about yourself as you go through the application process this coming year. or next year or the following year. And you don't want to approach this as do or die. Like, oh, many applicants get so concerned if they don't get in a given year that it's all over. That is so not true. Many applicants are concerned that if they get waitlisted, that automatically means they will end up being denied. That is not true. Part of going back to point number 7 here, putting your best foot forward with the committee, the kind of applicant I was most impressed with was the kind of applicant who said, you know what, Dr. Don, you know what, Booth, Columbia, Northwestern admissions committees, here's who I am. This is me. I'm trying to put my best foot forward for you. And I hope I might have a chance to join you. But if not, I'll be just fine. That's what you're looking for. That kind of honesty. It's not arrogant. It's just a statement of fact. My life is not going to fall apart. My world will not end if I don't get in here. I hope I will, but I'll be okay if I don't. That's how you want to approach this. Things are going to work out for you. I promise you. If you are persistent, you are determined, you are self-motivated, and you are a person of integrity, things will work out. They may not go exactly as you planned. They certainly didn't do that in my life. Not everything, looking back now, worked out exactly as I thought it would, but it did work out many times better than I thought it would. So approach this with a good attitude of, I'm going to enjoy this. I want to learn about myself. I'm going to have a very interesting experience working on all these applications, writing my essays, putting them together, attending admissions events, doing my research, creating my spreadsheet, doing all that I'm doing. I want to enjoy the process. Okay, a few things. I believe we have a few questions. I hope we're going to get more. I love questions. A quick word about my book, 106 pages, 4 chapters, first chapter, all about research. Second, all about the application process. Third, how to succeed once you're there. And fourth, 4 groups of students: prospective students, applicants, admitted students, current students. The top 10 questions from each of those groups, 40 questions total, and my responses to those, all in 106 pages. You can go on the website to the book page. If when you order, you type in the special promo code GSRM, which stands for Grad School Roadmap, you'll get a 50% discount on the book. I hope you'll check it out. This is in its 2nd printing. We're going to be probably doing a 3rd printing in the next 3 to 4 years. Okay, coaching with Dr. Don, with Grad School Roadmap. Very quick, I bring 28 years of experience to this opportunity, to this endeavor. 97% of the applicants with whom I have coached have been admitted to one or more of their top choice MBA or graduate school programs. It's been a very successful venture. I offer a free 30-minute consultation, no obligation. You can check out the contact form, excuse me, on our website, and I'll be giving you that information in just a moment. We're going to be doing an upcoming webinar in the fall. I believe it's slated for sometime in October. Nellie will have more information about that for you, but I hope you'll join us then. We'll be talking about some other things that will be very appropriate and apropos for that time in the application cycle, shall we say. And so I hope you'll stay tuned and join me again. It would be great to see you there. Here again, in closing now, is my contact information, my email address, Grad School Roadmap website address, where you can go and complete the contact form if you like. And I can't believe it's already 40 minutes have passed in this session. The time goes by so fast. I want to thank you for joining me today, for staying with me. It looks like we have some questions. So Nellie, I'm going to turn the microphone back to you now, and thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. It's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you very much, Don, for the great presentation. As always, really, really useful. Indeed, we have a few questions, so I'm going to start right away with the first one.
Okay.
Okay, what are good questions to ask the admission office so we can understand better the program?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Usually, in my experience, the best questions are those where you are asking for more information about something you read on the website, through a written material, something someone said at an event about which you would like more information. What you don't want to ask are questions that are already answered in the information given. I'll tell you, and I'm not suggesting that whoever was asking this question would do this, but two of the questions I used to find unbelievably surprising at an event, at an MBA event, would be, first of all, do you offer financial aid? Hello? Do we offer financial aid? Every institution in the world offers financial aid, just about. I was tempted to say, no, you have to pay everything yourself. Of course, that's not true. If so, what do you want? Maybe you'd like to know more about the specific types of financial aid that are available. But the way you do that is by finding out first what they have to offer, which means what? You have to do some research. And what that shows them is, oh, okay, this person means business. This person did some homework. They spent some time learning about us. Those are the questions that you ask. And whatever those questions are that are most, whether it's finances, curriculum, career services, hiring statistics, the faculty, the student body, whatever it is that you want to know more about, that's fine. But just be sure that you've at least learned what they did offer about that in the information they've already provided. That was an excellent question.
Thank you very much, Don.
Sure.
Let's see if you can help with this one. There is someone hesitating between doing an MBA and Master in Management program.
Yes.
Can you give any advice?
Yeah, and I'm glad to know that this person is thinking about that. I think that's a very either one of those is a very admirable endeavor academically. I think what it would come down to, in my experience, in terms of career progression in the business arena, a master's of management, or excuse me, an MBA typically is earned by individuals who tend to believe they will be pursuing a career solely in the business space. A Master of Management program certainly is able to prepare someone for a career as a business leader, but there could be a bit broader opportunities for them in management outside of business, maybe in education, maybe in the private sector, maybe in the not-for-profit space. There could be other areas where that degree might also be useful. So my advice is make sure as you do your spreadsheet, read up on what does this program really offer. We pretty much have an understanding of what an MBA is going to expose you to. I would suggest read very carefully the fine print on the Masters of Management program. What does it cover? What does the institution say it will prepare you for when you finish? And what are some of their alumni statistics? Where have their alumni gone? What are they doing? And you might want to talk with a recent graduate from a Master of Management program and ask them, were you ever thinking between a Master's of Management and an MBA, how did you end up deciding to go the Master of Management route? Ask them that same question. Another very good question. Excellent.
Let's stay on the topic of career development because we have another interesting question.
Okay.
So there is someone saying, I'm already working in a big consultancy firm and I'm leading a small team. Do you think it makes sense to do an MBA to advance my career to a higher managerial position?
Well, I'm very glad you asked that question, and congratulations, by the way, on your already having an opportunity to be leading a team where you are. That shows that this company has great confidence in you, and they are appreciating the leadership you're bringing to this organization. In my experience, an MBA or a master's degree can open more doors management-wise because it demonstrates that someone took the time to further educate themselves on a particular subject area, in this case, the business field. But I want to be quick to add, I would be remiss if I overlooked the fact that there are many individuals who did not opt for an MBA or a master's and have done exceptionally well in their careers. And so what I would say is, for instance, let's say you are interested in staying with your company for a while. You might talk with your supervisor or someone there you trust who would keep your confidence and ask them this exact question. Would my career here at this company be enhanced through earning an MBA? Maybe they actually help employees that they are really pleased with. They might help pay for it. Who knows? They might sponsor you. But even if they don't, you could ask them. You could also ask other of your professional colleagues and friends, do they have any information at their firms about how an MBA helps or doesn't help an employee? It's not a cut and dry answer. Some folks have earned the MBA and done well, others have not, and they've done equally well. Again, it's more about what it is that you would like to do and where you envision yourself as an employee and that company or those companies' views on higher education. Good. These are excellent questions, Melanie. Very good.
So we should keep going then.
Oh, let's keep going. I hope we get some more.
Okay, we have a resume related question. Can you give advice how we can edit our resume? And also, should we bring our resumes to events organized by the admission office?
I can answer yes and yes to both of those questions. In my coaching work, one of the things I do first with all of my clients is to evaluate their resumes. So that is an important component of the application. It's often the very first thing admissions committees will look at. For MBA programs especially, typically, you would want to make it a one-page document. You do not want to go into 2 and 3. In fact, the admissions office may even say in their application instructions, and remember, I talked about this earlier, please read and follow the instructions. If they ask for 1 page, you might have what you think are 3 pages of absolutely, the most relevant information. But if they asked you for 1 page, that's what you give them. That's something I could help with in a coaching situation. Also, some institutions ask you not to include a photograph on your resume. You want to be very careful how creative you get with these things. Some people go, they have all kinds of colors, they have photographs on. That can detract greatly. So again, make sure you know how long it's supposed to be. Should you have a photograph on it? And then if it's a 1-page document, what you can include. If you have questions for me after this webinar, I can help with that. Should you bring your resume to an event or to a meet? Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I would strongly recommend you do that. And where you have an occasion to speak with a representative or an alumnus or something, when you get to the end of that conversation, you offer them, may I give you a copy of my resume? They will most definitely want it. And for me, I made notes. I would write down some quick things. I had like a bit of a code language. So because I was having to talk to the next person right away, I didn't have a lot of time, but I had some code words. I would, if I was impressed for better or worse, I would write it down right on the resume. So absolutely take it with you. Another great question.
And this is a great advice, Don, actually.
Good.
Yeah, we have one last question. So I want to
Okay.
invite everyone here. If you have questions, now is your last chance. Okay, so there's a person saying, is 23 years old too young for an MBA, or should I wait a bit and get more professional experience before applying?
Great question. And the answer, again, is not completely cut and dry, but generally speaking, it's my experience that the average age now of incoming MBA students is between 25 and 27. Notice I said average, however. When I was at Chicago Booth, we did admit some students who were younger. Perhaps they were business majors in college. They had done some amazing internships during their undergraduate years. They'd started a business. Their academic credentials were absolutely incredible. There were instances where we felt we could do that, but they weren't as many. Most of the applicants that we admitted while I was at Booth had at least 3 or 4 years of full-time work experience before they apply. So again, it's not that you will never get in at the age of 23, but you would have to have some very strong components of your application for that to happen in most cases. Those were excellent, excellent questions, Nelly. My word, what a great group of participants here.
Thank you very much, Don. I don't have any other questions, but it was a pleasure listening to your presentation and your advice.